Chosen one. Pause right here. Do not scroll past this moment, for heaven has orchestrated this encounter with divine precision. Everything around you has been silenced because the Spirit of God is reaching for you. This is not a random message, this is a holy interruption. The reason your heart feels that sudden pull, that weight in your spirit, is because your blessing is hanging in the balance of this moment. You have walked through valleys that few could survive. You have fought silent wars, smiled through exhaustion, and carried burdens that others never even saw. You've wondered if God was still listening, if He still remembered the promises spoken over your life. And yet, through every unanswered prayer and every lonely night, His hand never left you. You were being prepared, not punished, hidden, not forgotten. Listen carefully. God never wastes a wound. Every heartbreak became a lesson. Every delay, a layer of strength. Every rejection, a redirection toward destiny. You didn't lose, you learned. You didn't break, you were built. Heaven has been shaping you in silence because what's coming next requires a stronger version of you. This is the moment where everything begins to shift. The angels assigned to your destiny have drawn near. The spiritual atmosphere around you is charged because obedience is the key that unlocks the next chapter. You have been asking God for a sign, here it is. He is saying, this is your moment. Step forward, chosen one. It's time to stop questioning your worth and start walking in your calling. You are not ordinary. You carry divine DNA, a heavenly imprint that cannot be erased by the opinions of people or the failures of your past. The warfare you faced wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal the power inside you. Every battle was confirmation of your anointing. The greater the calling, the greater the conflict. Lift your eyes from your pain and fix them on your purpose. Heaven is not waiting for perfection, it's waiting for surrender. The moment you release control, God releases miracles. This is the turning point where delay meets destiny, where obedience meets overflow. You are standing at the doorway of fulfillment, and heaven is waiting for your yes. Can you feel it? The weight you've been carrying is beginning to lift. That heaviness in your chest is being replaced by peace. The confusion is clearing because clarity is coming. God is whispering your name, calling you out of the shadows. You don't need to strive anymore. You just need to listen. The ancient words recorded in Deuteronomy still speak with power today. Deuteronomy 3:1-6. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will not forsake you. Let those words sink deep into your heart. You are not abandoned. You are not alone. Every battle you faced, He was there. Every moment you thought it was over, He was fighting for you behind the scenes. Your courage is not in your strength, but in His presence. The same God who walked with Moses through the wilderness is walking with you now. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven never paints with waste. Every broken brushstroke of your story forms a masterpiece in progress. You are standing in the middle of what God is creating. Don't quit before you witness the beauty that your pain was preparing you for. The shaking you feel isn't punishment, it's positioning. God is rearranging circumstances, moving people, and shifting paths so that everything aligns with His promise. What feels like chaos is actually divine choreography. Trust the unseen hands that guide your every step. Your deliverance is already written in heaven's timeline. Chosen one. Your faith is rising again, stronger than before. What once hurt you will soon testify for you. The voices that doubted you will witness your elevation. Stand firm in grace. Breathe deep. And remember, you are not behind. You are exactly where destiny needs you to be. Chosen one. Heaven has paused history for you to hear this. The waiting is ending. The blessing is near. And the door is about to open. But your obedience will determine what happens next. This is not a message to admire, it is a call to act. If your spirit bears witness, declare it boldly. Comment 777 below as a sign that you choose faith over fear. Then, like, share, and subscribe, not for vanity, but to stay connected to the flow of prophetic truth being released in this hour. The Lord your God goes with you. You will not fall. You will not fail. And you will not be forsaken. Your name has been spoken in the courts of heaven, and your moment has arrived. Chosen one, take a deep breath. Feel the stillness that surrounds you now. You have entered the sacred space between what was and what is yet to be. The weight you've been carrying, though invisible to most, has been real, relentless, and heavy. Heaven has seen every sleepless night, every silent prayer that never escaped your lips. You've carried responsibilities beyond your years, pain beyond your strength, and hope beyond your understanding. And yet, you are still standing. That alone is a miracle. There were moments when you almost gave up. When the thought of pressing forward felt impossible, you looked around and saw others running freely while you crawled beneath the burden of battles no one else knew existed. But even when your faith trembled, something within you refused to let go. That something was divine. It was the whisper of God saying, "Not yet. You are not finished." You see, the weight you've been carrying wasn't meant to crush you, it was meant to shape you. The heaviness of your journey has been the forge of your strength. Just as gold is refined by fire, your soul has been refined by trial. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. Every struggle, every delay, every disappointment was working together to build resilience within you. The kind that only the chosen can understand. The world cannot see it. But heaven recognizes the scars you bear. Those marks are not proof of defeat, they are evidence of endurance. Every tear you shed has been counted. Every ache remembered. Nothing was wasted. Every pain has a purpose. And every burden you lifted with trembling hands has become a testimony waiting to be spoken. The Spirit reminds you now that you were trusted with the weight because you could handle it. Not because you were the strongest, but because you were willing. You didn't choose this battle chose you. Because God saw something within you that hell could not destroy. The pressure that almost broke you was the same pressure that birthed the warrior within you. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 56, verse 8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You collect my tears in your bottle. You record each one in your book. Let that truth settle deeply. None of your pain went unnoticed. Every moment of despair was observed by the one who never sleeps. You were never alone in your suffering. When you cried in the dark, heaven leaned close. When you doubted your worth, the angels whispered your name before the throne. Even now, as you remember those heavy seasons, grace is wrapping itself around your heart like a blanket of light. Chosen one, it's time to understand the sacredness of your struggle. The enemy wanted you to believe you were weak, but your very survival is proof of divine strength. The weight you've been carrying has not broken you, it has built you into someone unstoppable. The very thing that tried to bury you has been cultivating your roots deeper into faith. There are people who will one day stand in freedom because you chose not to collapse under your burden. The lessons you've learned in darkness will become light for others. You are not just surviving this season, you are being equipped to lead others through theirs. The weight you carry is a mantle of authority in disguise. Even when you thought you had lost everything, God was storing treasures in hidden places. The friendships that ended, the opportunities that slipped away, the seasons that felt wasted, each one concealed divine redirection. He was never taking things from you. He was making space for better things to come. You thought you were being stripped down, but you were being refined for royalty. The truth is, this heaviness you feel will soon give way to glory. Every burden has an expiration date. You are approaching the moment when what once felt like crushing pressure will transform into divine power. The strength rising within you now is not your own, it's heaven's response to your endurance. So, lift your head, chosen one. You are not carrying this alone anymore. The same God who counted your tears is now turning them into rivers of blessing. The same weight that once exhausted you will soon elevate you. The night that lasted too long is giving way to morning. And with the sunrise comes restoration. Heaven is not ashamed of your weariness. God is not disappointed by your weakness. He delights in your resilience. You kept believing when others walked away. You kept praying when you didn't see results. You kept walking when your legs trembled. And now, heaven whispers over you, you have endured well. The weight you've been carrying is shifting. What once was heavy will soon become holy. You are stepping into a season where your scars will shine, where your story will heal, and where your tears will testify. You will look back and see that none of it was in vain. The burden that nearly broke you has become the foundation of your anointing. Hold on, chosen one. What was once pain is becoming purpose. What was once sorrow is turning into song. You are not defined by what you've carried, but by who has carried you through it all. The hardest chapters of your life are becoming the most beautiful parts of your testimony. And soon, you will realize the weight was never meant to destroy you, it was preparing you to lift others. Chosen one, the fire you've walked through was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to define you. You have been marked by fire. Heaven knows your name not because of the ease of your journey, but because of the flames you survived. You have walked through rejection that would have shattered others, endured silence that would have silenced others. And yet, you're still here, glowing with a quiet strength that can only come from divine refinement. There is something sacred about being chosen and tested at the same time. It's not punishment, it's proof. God trusted you enough to allow you into the furnace because he knew you would emerge purer than gold. Every trial, every heartbreak, every moment you questioned your worth, these were not accidents. They were the divine fire forging your true identity. You see, fire doesn't destroy gold, it reveals it. The same flames that consume straw purify precious metal. When the heat rose around you and everything seemed to burn away, what was truly happening was the removal of what no longer belonged. The friendships that faded, the opportunities that dissolved, the versions of you that died, they had to, because you cannot carry impurities into the destiny you were designed for. Chosen one, this is why you have felt the sting of separation. It wasn't people leaving, it was God cleansing. You asked him for strength, and he gave you refining. You asked for purpose, and he gave you pressure. You asked for growth, and he gave you fire. What you thought was destruction was actually transformation. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, I will put them into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people. And they will say, the Lord is our God, chosen one. There's a reason others don't understand your resilience. It's because you've been in a spiritual forge where your endurance was tempered by pain. Every scar is now a seal of authenticity, a mark that you've been tested and found faithful. You are no longer fragile. You are fireproof. Remember this, those who have not walked through fire cannot carry fire. God is raising you to ignite others. Your story will not end in ashes, it will end in glory. And the beauty of it all is that you didn't have to prove yourself. God already approved you through the test. Even now, the heat you once dreaded is becoming the light that guides others. The pain that once silenced you is becoming the message that sets others free. There is a divine exchange taking place, ashes for beauty, mourning for joy, despair for praise. You are stepping into the proof of transformation. The fire has given you authority. You can now speak to storms, and they will listen. You can walk into chaos and bring calm. You can pray over others and see chains fall, because you have felt the weight of those chains yourself. That's why you carry such weight in the spirit. That's why darkness fears your voice. It recognizes someone who's been through fire and didn't burn. Look back for a moment. Remember the times you thought you couldn't survive. You didn't just survive, you were sanctified. You didn't come out bitter, you came out better. You didn't lose your faith, it became unshakable. That's what it means to be marked by fire, changed, purified, unstoppable, chosen one. Take this moment and let gratitude rise. You are standing as living proof that God turns pain into purpose. The flames that once surrounded you are now beneath you, lighting your path forward. You have become the fire you feared. Now, as a prophetic act of declaration, I invite you to write these words below, I am refined. Type it as a seal of your testimony, as a declaration that the fire did not win. Because when you speak it, you affirm heaven's truth that what once tried to burn you has now bowed to your endurance. When you write it, do it intentionally. Feel the weight of those words. You are not just repeating a phrase, you are claiming identity. Every time you declare, I am refined, you remind darkness that you are no longer fragile clay, you are molded steel, tempered by divine fire. Chosen one, this is your awakening. You have not been forgotten in the fire, you have been forged in it. And now, you carry the glow of glory. When others see you, they will not see the pain that built you, they will see the light that transformed you. You are the evidence that God still turns ashes into crowns. You are the proof that the flames of adversity cannot consume what heaven has chosen. You have been marked by fire. But the mark is not one of destruction, it is one of distinction. You are chosen, purified, and ready. Chosen one. There are seasons in a divine journey when everything grows quiet, not because God has left, but because He is teaching you to hear differently. You have entered such a season. The silence you felt is not emptiness, it is intimacy. It is the sacred stillness where God hides His deepest work. You have not been abandoned, you have been hidden. Hidden not as one forgotten, but as one being prepared. You may have looked around and wondered why recognition slipped away, why familiar paths closed, why the flow of momentum slowed to stillness. It is because heaven does its most delicate shaping away from the public eye. Visibility can destroy what has not yet been rooted. The vine that grows too fast without depth collapses in its own weight. And so God, in His mercy, drew you back away from noise, applause, and comparison to do something eternal within you. It is easy to love God when the light shines and favor flows. It takes a deeper faith to love Him when the world grows silent and doors stay closed. Yet, it is in that hidden season that you are learning endurance, humility, and stillness, gifts that no platform can teach. The hidden place is the womb of transformation. It feels like waiting, but it is actually creation. You've asked, Lord, why am I unseen? And heaven answered, because you are not ready to be misunderstood. There are stages of glory that require solitude first. Before a message can reach the multitudes, it must first pierce the messenger. Before light can shine through glass, the glass must be cut. Before oil can flow from the olive, it must be crushed. Hiddenness is never punishment, it is process. The Spirit of God moved the prophet to write in the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 2. He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of His hand, He hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in His quiver. These ancient words describe your current season perfectly. You are the arrow in His quiver, polished, honed, and aimed toward destiny, but not yet released. You have been kept in the shadow of His hand, safe from the winds of premature exposure. The waiting is not wasted, it is preparation for accuracy. In the hidden place, God strips away false identities. You have worn many names, some given by others, some formed from fear, but none of them define you now. In silence, He whispers your true name. It's not the name of performance or expectation, it's the name of purpose. When you emerge from this season, you won't just do great things, you will become what He called you to be. You are learning the art of contentment in obscurity. Heaven is showing you that greatness is not measured by visibility, but by depth. Even Jesus lived 30 hidden years before 3 years of public ministry. Those silent decades were not wasted, they were essential. The carpenter's shop was His classroom. The quiet town of Nazareth was His training ground. What looks small to man is sacred to God. The silence you feel now is not absence, it's the sound of shaping. The potter's wheel turns slowly. Every rotation smooths another flaw. Every press defines another curve. Sometimes He pauses, not because He's finished, but because He's admiring what He's forming. And that chosen one is where you stand, half-formed, wholly loved, resting in divine hands that never rush. Hidden seasons are also seasons of revelation. Without distractions, you begin to see more clearly. You notice patterns in yourself that were once blurred by busyness. You hear God's voice in the quiet details, a sunrise, a whisper, a moment of peace. This is the place where discernment deepens. What others overlook, you begin to understand. What once confused you now begins to make sense. But make no mistake, hidden seasons are not easy. They test the heart's patience, expose its motives, and strip away all illusions of control. You cannot manipulate time in the hidden place. You can only trust it. And that is the hardest lesson of all, to surrender your schedule to divine timing. Chosen one, the concealment will not last forever. There will come a day when God pulls you from his quiver and sends you forth. The time of obscurity will end suddenly, and those who once overlooked you will witness the precision of your impact. But when that moment comes, you will not rush to shine, you will simply aim true, because you have learned in hiddenness what few learn in public: obedience without recognition, worship without witness, faith without evidence. So rest. Stop striving to be seen. Heaven already sees you. The silence is not rejection, it is reverence. You are being trusted with secrecy because God is entrusting you with strength. And when the unveiling arrives, you will be ready, not desperate for attention, but steady in assignment. You are the arrow in his quiver, the seed beneath the soil, the vessel upon the wheel. Stay in his hands. The time of revealing is coming, and when it does, every hidden moment will prove it was worth it. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every divine journey when heaven pauses not to test your worth, but to test your willingness. You are standing in that very moment now. The silence has lifted, and God is watching not what you say, but how you respond. This is the space between promise and fulfillment, between hearing and doing. It's the sacred pause before promotion, the breath of heaven before breakthrough. You may not realize it, but obedience is the language of love in the kingdom. It's not about perfection, it's about trust. God wants to see if you will move when he whispers, not when the crowd shouts. He wants to know if your heart still says yes, even when your hands are empty. That is what separates those who are called from those who are chosen. When heaven tests obedience, it often doesn't look like a grand command. Sometimes it's simply a nudge to forgive when it hurts, to sow when it seems unwise, to speak life when your own heart is weary. Each act of obedience is a seed planted in unseen soil. And, though the ground looks still, heaven is already watering it. You don't see it growing. But one day, the roots will burst through, and the harvest will astound you. Think of your life as a garden of faith. Every prayer, every act of kindness, every word spoken in love, these are the seeds that make heaven bloom on earth. But even a garden needs tending. When you choose to nurture what God has planted, when you give, when you encourage, when you share light with others, you become the gardener of someone else's hope. The Spirit speaks again through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. Sometimes obedience looks like stepping out of comfort to spread hope to others. It looks like sharing truth even when it's not trendy, or lifting someone else when you're still healing yourself. The kingdom advances not through crowds, but through hearts that quietly say, I will obey. This moment, right now, is part of your test. You are not just a receiver of light, you are called to reflect it. When a message touches your spirit, don't let it end there. Let it move through you. Share what resonates. Speak what heals. Give what multiplies. Just as a river must flow to stay alive, your blessing grows as you let it flow outward. When you like, share, or even contribute to sustain messages like this. You are not supporting a voice, you are fueling a mission. You become part of the river that carries living water to souls thirsting for hope. Each act of generosity is a ripple that reaches hearts you may never meet. Imagine a candle burning in a vast, dark room, alone. It gives off a soft glow, but when another candle is lit from its flame, the light doubles. When hundreds more are lit, the darkness retreats. That is what happens when you spread the light of what touches your spirit. A single spark shared can become a fire of awakening across the world. So if this message has stirred your heart, let it grow beyond you. Allow it to reach others still wandering in silence. Share the light, not out of obligation, but out of compassion. Because somewhere, someone is waiting for the very word that once rescued you. And if you feel led to go deeper, to nurture this voice that God is using to speak into lives, then give from the heart. Whether it's through prayer, support, or a humble donation, you become a living bridge between the message and the miracle. Never think what you have is too small. God multiplies even the smallest seed when it's sown in faith. Your obedience doesn't just open heaven over your life, it keeps heaven flowing into others. You are a vessel, a messenger, a bearer of divine light. And every time you choose to act, to share, to sustain, heaven smiles. Chosen one, never underestimate the ripple of your yes. The same God who tested the hearts of Israel in the wilderness is testing yours with love, not to judge, but to reveal the strength within you. When you obey, you prove not your perfection, but your devotion. You are standing at the edge of harvest, and heaven's eyes are upon you. Keep your heart open, your hands willing, and your spirit generous. What you release in faith will return multiplied in glory. You are not giving to a voice, you are sowing into eternity. Chosen one. There are moments when the entire atmosphere of your life begins to shift. And this is one of them. You can sense it, a quiet trembling in your spirit, as though heaven itself is breathing change into your story. This is the turning point of destiny. The wilderness you've wandered is giving way to promise. The silence that once surrounded you is about to sing. You have waited, prayed, and endured, not realizing that every delay was a divine setup. Heaven was aligning circumstances, refining your heart, and preparing the ground for breakthrough. Now, the sound of movement is in the air. The doors that once stood shut are beginning to unlock. You may not see it yet, but something holy is unfolding. Destiny does not arrive with fanfare, it comes softly, like dawn breaking after a long night. One act of surrender, one step of obedience, can shift the course of everything. The moment you say yes, Lord, heaven begins to accelerate. Every chain that bound your progress starts to break. Every barrier that stood before you begins to fall. It may feel subtle, but this is no small moment. You are standing on holy ground, the threshold between waiting and walking, between promise and possession, and heaven is asking for your surrender. Not partial obedience, not occasional trust, but complete release. You've carried control long enough. Now God is asking you to lay it down. The apostle wrote in his letter to James, chapter 4, verse 10, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." Do not underestimate the power of one moment of surrender. It is the invisible act that shifts visible realities. When you release what you cannot control, God releases what He has prepared. When you finally say, "I trust you completely," heaven replies, "Now I can move." Remember how Joseph's story turned not when he fought for freedom, but when he remained faithful in the prison, or how Esther's courage turned a decree of death into deliverance. Destiny often waits quietly for obedience, and once that obedience is given, everything changes in an instant. Chosen one, you are on the brink of such a moment. The doors of destiny are creaking open. The timing of heaven is aligning. But before the breakthrough comes, there is a moment of surrender so pure it feels like free fall. Don't resist it. Let go of control. Release the weight of worry. And trust that God's hands are underneath your surrender. It will not be long before you see the fruit of what you've endured. The prayers that seemed unanswered were never ignored, they were stored. The promises that felt delayed were never denied, they were being developed. You have not missed your moment is meeting you now. In the days ahead, everything that once confused you will make sense. Every closed door will reveal its purpose. Every painful waiting season will show its reward. This is not the end of the story. It is the unveiling of why you had to walk through the fire, through the silence, through the storms. And when you stand on the other side of this shift, you will look back and say, "It was worth it." The tears, the patience, the surrender, all of it led here. You are about to witness the hand of God turn what was meant for your harm into the very foundation of your promotion. So, listen carefully. Heaven is asking for your agreement. Will you respond? Will you step into the unknown with faith? Will you trust that obedience will unlock the blessing you've been praying for? If your heart feels the stirring, if your spirit recognizes this divine moment, then respond with a prophetic act. Comment 888 below. This number represents new beginnings, the divine cycle of completion, giving birth to a brand new season. When you write it, do it with purpose. You are declaring to heaven, "I'm ready for what comes next." This is not superstition, it's symbolism, an outward expression of an inward surrender. Every time you declare that number, you're aligning your faith with divine renewal. You're saying, "I trust you, Lord, to rewrite my story." Chosen one, this is your turning point. You are stepping out of waiting and into walking, out of delay and into destiny. The light that seemed so far away is now breaking through. The promises are approaching manifestation, and your obedience is unlocking acceleration. Stand tall in your faith. Lift your eyes with expectation. The one who called you is faithful, and he will complete what he began. This is not the time to retreat, it is the time to rise. Your yes in this moment is the sound heaven has been waiting for. The shift begins now. Chosen one, before every breakthrough, there comes a final shaking. It's the last desperate attempt of darkness to make you doubt what God already declared. You may have felt it recently, the confusion, the sudden discouragement, the unexpected resistance rising just when things started to move. That's not coincidence, that's warfare. The enemy always attacks hardest right before release. The closer you get to fulfillment, the louder the opposition becomes. The enemy cannot stop what God has ordained, but he can distract, delay, and deceive if you allow him. He knows he cannot destroy the chosen, so he tries to exhaust them. That's why you've felt weary without reason. heavy without explanation. It's because you are nearing breakthrough, and the adversary senses it. Do not mistake warfare for abandonment. The pressure you feel is proof of proximity. You are standing at the edge of what you've been praying for, and the enemy is terrified of what happens when you step through. His goal is not to defeat you, it's to make you give up before victory arrives. But you, beloved, are not one who retreats. You are one who stands. There is a spiritual law written into creation before manifestation. There must be confrontation. Moses faced Pharaoh before leading Israel out. David faced Goliath before wearing the crown. Even Jesus faced temptation in the wilderness before stepping into ministry. The greater the call, the greater the conflict. The intensity of your battle is a reflection of the magnitude of your purpose. Do not be alarmed by the heat of this moment. It is the final purging before promotion. When the pressure increases, it is not a sign of defeat, it is a sign of impending release. Heaven often allows these final tests not to expose your weakness, but to confirm your readiness. You are being strengthened to handle the blessing you're about to receive. Chosen one, pay attention to the subtle ways the enemy moves. He rarely comes with horns and fury. He comes disguised as distraction, offense, doubt, or weariness. He whispers that you're behind, that you've failed, that you're forgotten. He tries to turn your attention away from promise toward pressure, but you have been trained for this. You know his patterns now. You have walked through too much fire to be fooled by smoke. Stand firm. Remember who you are. Remember who walks beside you. The same God who parted seas, who silenced lions, who calmed storms, is standing within you even now. The darkness trembles not at your strength but at your endurance. Every time you refuse to bow to fear, the kingdom of darkness loses ground. Scripture declares through the Apostle Paul in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." You must understand the battlefield you stand on. It's not people who oppose you, it's the forces working through them. The attack is not personal, it's positional. The enemy sees where you're headed and is terrified of your arrival. If he can distract you long enough, he can delay your destiny. But when you recognize his schemes, you take back your power. Do not waste energy fighting shadows. Lift your eyes higher. This is a spiritual war, and your weapons are not physical, they are faith, prayer, and obedience. When you stay calm in the storm, you frustrate every demon assigned to disrupt you. When you choose peace over panic, praise over fear, you declare that your trust is in the one who never loses a battle. Chosen one, there is a divine strength rising in you now. Quiet but unbreakable. You are learning to fight from victory, not for it. The cross already sealed your triumph. All that remains is your endurance. Heaven has already written the outcome. You win. The shaking you feel is not destruction, it's delivery. It is the groaning of the spiritual realm as something new is being born through you. Every attack is confirmation that something powerful is coming. You are not losing, you are laboring, and labor always precedes birth. Soon, you will see why the enemy fought so hard to stop you. You will understand why the attacks came from unexpected directions. He feared the version of you that would rise from this battle refined, fearless, immovable, When the dust settles, you will still be standing, clothed in strength and carrying glory. So don't retreat now. Don't question what you already know. Let faith be your weapon, and peace your shield. When you rest in the assurance of God's victory, the enemy loses his grip. The storm may rage, but it cannot overturn what heaven has ordained. You are walking through the final resistance before the reveal. The fire will cool, the winds will quiet, and when they do, you will realize you didn't just survive, you overcame. The darkness tried one last time and failed, because light always wins. Chosen one, remember this truth. You are not in the battle because you're weak. You're in it because you're strong enough to win. And when you emerge, and you will emerge, you'll carry authority that cannot be taught, only earned through endurance. Hold fast. You are closer than ever. Chosen one, something sacred is awakening within you. It is not a new gift or a sudden revelation. It is the remembrance of who you have always been for so long. The noise of the world, the weight of disappointment, and the whispers of doubt tried to make you forget your true origin. But deep within, your spirit has always known you are not ordinary. You are heaven's vessel of light, wrapped in human form. There is a stirring happening in your soul, a divine restlessness that will not allow you to settle for less than what God designed you to become. You have felt it, a quiet dissatisfaction with the surface things, an ache for something deeper, truer, eternal. That is the sound of your spirit, remembering its calling. It is the echo of eternity resonating inside you, pulling you back toward your purpose. You were never meant to live as one among the crowd. The fingerprints of heaven are upon your life, the mark of divine ownership that sets you apart even when you try to blend in. Others may be comfortable with complacency, but you cannot rest where there is no meaning. That's why the same situations that satisfy others leave you uneasy. You were made for more. This awakening does not come gently. It shakes everything that is false, everything that was built out of fear or conformity. It exposes the layers that life's pain wrapped around your heart. It peels them away, not to shame you, but to free you. The light within you is demanding space to shine again. And though it feels like unraveling, it is really rebirth. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11, still echo today. And do this. Understanding the present time, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The awakening within you is not random, it is prophetic. It was scheduled by God for this exact generation. You were born into this era for a reason. Every skill, every experience, every scar has prepared you to carry light into a world gasping for truth. When you walk into a room, the spiritual atmosphere changes because the kingdom of light enters with you. That is why people feel peace when you speak, and why darkness resists when you rise. Do not fear this awakening. Many around you may not understand it. They may call it pride, obsession, or over-spirituality. But you know it is none of those things, it is recognition. You are simply remembering who you are. You were chosen to stand in the tension between heaven and earth, to be a conduit of hope, to speak when others remain silent, to love when others withdraw. This awakening is also purification. As light floods your spirit, it will illuminate what cannot stay. Old habits, false connections, unhealthy attachments, they will begin to fall away. Don't cling to what God is removing. When light increases, shadows flee. Let them go. Every release is making more room for truth. There will be moments when you feel the weight of this awareness, when you sense more deeply, see more clearly, discern more sharply. It might feel like too much, but it is grace. God trusts you with sensitivity because you have learned compassion. You will carry revelation without arrogance, power without pride, and wisdom without cruelty. Chosen one. The awakening within you is also awakening others. Your obedience has a ripple effect. The fire that burns inside you will ignite torches in the lives around you. You are part of something larger, a divine rising that stretches across nations, gathering hearts that still respond to heaven's whisper. You are not alone. You are one flame among many, each carrying light for this generation. The time for silence has ended. No more sleeping in shadows. No more apologizing for the weight of your calling. This world needs your light, your voice, your faith. The awakening inside you is heaven's answer to the darkness outside you. You were born to stand as a living reminder that God has not forgotten his people. So let the awakening continue. Let your spirit rise with the dawn. Let your eyes see beyond what others call reality. Feel the divine pulse of destiny beating again inside your chest. You are the awakening. Chosen one, the embodiment of God's promise to a weary world. And when you walk forward from this moment, you will not carry confusion. Only clarity, not fear. Only faith, not doubt. Only divine remembrance. The light is no longer sleeping within you. It has risen, and it will not fade again. Chosen one. The fiercest battle you will ever fight will not take place in the visible world. It will take place within your own mind. The mind is the battlefield of destiny, the place where faith and fear wrestle for control. It is where promises are either protected or poisoned, where peace is either guarded or surrendered. The enemy does not need to touch your body if he can capture your thoughts. That's why the war inside you has felt so relentless. You've felt the weight of mental warfare, the anxiety that appears without warning, the heaviness that settles even on peaceful days, the quiet doubts that whisper, "You're not enough." But heaven wants you to understand those thoughts are not your identity. They are intrusions, planted by a liar who fears the power of your renewed mind. The mind is holy ground. It was never meant to host fear, but to reflect divine truth. You were created to think like your Creator, to reason through faith, to imagine through hope, to dream through love. But over time, the noise of the world built fortresses in your thoughts, memories of rejection, patterns of worry, voices that said you couldn't rise. Those strongholds must fall, because they block the flow of heaven's truth. You can feel the tension inside your mind, a tug of war between who you were and who you are becoming. But hear this, you are not losing your mind, you are reclaiming it. Every negative thought that once ruled you is being confronted by divine light. Every false belief that chained you is being shattered by truth. You are stepping into a season of mental freedom unlike anything you've known before. Scripture declares through the Apostle Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 5, "We demolish arguments and every pretension against God's knowledge. We take captive every thought to obey Christ." This is not poetic language, it is spiritual warfare. Taking thoughts captive means refusing to let fear rent space in your mind. It means arresting lies before they shape your reality. The battle of the mind is not won by emotion but by truth, by replacing deception with the Word of God until peace becomes your natural state. Chosen one, heaven is teaching you to think like a victor, not a victim. The enemy wants you trapped in cycles of worry so you can't see the horizon of promise ahead. But the moment you begin to renew your mind, chains begin to fall. It starts with one choice: to stop agreeing with the lie and start aligning with truth. You may feel the fear, but you speak faith. You may sense the pressure, but you declare peace. That's how you win the war inside. Understand this: the enemy attacks your thoughts because he fears your clarity. When you think clearly, you see through deception. When you see through deception, you move in authority. That's why distraction, doubt, and overthinking are his favorite tools. But now, you are awakening to the reality that you have the power to choose what you host in your mind. You don't have to believe everything you think. You are not a prisoner, you are a gatekeeper. So, guard the gates. Don't let bitterness sneak in disguised as caution. Don't let hopelessness pretend to be realism. Every thought must be filtered through heaven's truth. Does this sound like the voice of love or the voice of fear? If it's not love, it's not God. When you begin to master your inner world, everything around you changes. Peace becomes your weapon. Gratitude becomes your fortress. Worship becomes your oxygen. You will find that your external circumstances no longer have the power to dictate your internal state. That's the mark of spiritual maturity: calm in chaos, clarity in confusion. Chosen one, this is your training ground. The Lord is teaching you to govern your thoughts, because your next level of authority requires a renewed mind. You cannot carry old fears into a new season. Heaven cannot pour fresh revelation into a cluttered mind. So let the cleansing begin. Release the worry, the constant replay of what went wrong, the fear of what's next. None of those things belong to you anymore. They are weights trying to anchor you in an old season. Lift your thoughts higher, to where Christ sits in glory, and see your situation from his perspective: finished, redeemed, victorious. If your spirit feels that stirring right now, respond with this simple declaration in the comments: my mind obeys. Write it as a proclamation, not for show, but for sealing. Because every time you speak those words, you align your mind with divine order. You are telling the unseen world, this thought realm belongs to God. You are declaring that your mind is no longer a battlefield, it is becoming a sanctuary. And from that sanctuary will flow peace like a river. Fear will lose its voice. Confusion will bow to clarity. You will think differently, speak differently, live differently. Because when your mind obeys, your life follows. Chosen one, you are not fighting for peace, you are fighting from peace. The victory is already written. Now it's time to walk in it. Thought by thought, truth by truth, until your mind reflects the brilliance of the one who created it. Chosen one, heaven has been preparing you for this moment, the moment when you rise, not only in awareness, but in authority. The mantle of divine authority is not granted through titles or applause. It is bestowed through surrender, forged through obedience, and sealed through perseverance. You've carried burdens in silence, interceded when no one saw, and stood firm when the winds of opposition howled. What was once hidden inside you is now beginning to shine outwardly. Authority in the kingdom does not come from position, it comes from posture. It is born when you bow low before God, when you choose humility instead of recognition, when you listen before you speak. The mantle of divine power is woven in secret, threaded with tears, dyed with prayer, and strengthened by faith. And now, that mantle rests upon your shoulders. Heaven has entrusted you with influence, but not to dominate, it's to illuminate. True authority shines like the moon. It carries no light of its own, but reflects the brilliance of the sun. You are that reflection. When others see you walk in peace, when they feel your words pierce through confusion, they are not seeing you, they are seeing the light of the one who called you. The words of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, declare, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, to overcome the enemy. Nothing will harm you." Think of authority as a mantle of light, a radiant garment woven through years of trust. Every trial you endured was another thread added to it. Every moment you forgave when it hurt. Every time you prayed when no answer came. Every tear you released in worship, all of it was weaving the robe you now wear. And when heaven clothes you, darkness recognizes you. You are not stepping into this authority for self-glory, but for service. Like a lighthouse standing on a cliff, your purpose is to guide ships through fog, not to be admired from shore. The storms you survived have given you the light that others need. There are lives adrift in confusion that will find their way home because you dared to shine. This is also where your role in this divine flow becomes real. When you share what feeds your soul, when you speak life into others, when you help sustain the voices heaven uses to reach the lost, you become part of the chain of light. Each act of support, whether through prayer, a kind word, or a heartfelt offering, becomes oil for the lamp. Without oil, even the brightest flame flickers, but with it, the light reaches farther than you could ever go alone. Imagine a river. One drop cannot shape a valley, but a flowing current carves through mountains. Every time you like, share, subscribe, or sow into this stream, you are adding your drop to that current. You help carve paths for hope to flow into deserts of despair. What you give: time, encouragement. Generosity becomes living water for others thirsting for truth. And if your heart feels drawn to give, give with freedom, not obligation. Every seed you plant into light returns multiplied in peace. You are not donating to a person, you are sowing into purpose. You are helping carry the message farther than one voice could ever reach alone. The hand that gives becomes a wing that helps this message soar into unseen skies. Chosen one, you carry heaven's authority not just to command storms, but to comfort souls. The same power that raises the dead also restores the weary. When you lift someone up, you act as heaven's ambassador. When you help light another candle, your own flame burns brighter. This is divine multiplication, each act of love becoming fuel for another miracle. So walk in that mantle boldly, but with grace. Know that you are not just a receiver of revelation, you are a conduit of transformation. Heaven flows through you like electricity through a wire unseen. Powerful, constant. Stay connected to the source, and the current will never fade. Let your voice be gentle yet firm, your hands humble yet strong, your heart open yet guarded by peace. You have been given authority not to rule, but to restore. You are heaven's ambassador in a world that has forgotten its king. Chosen one, wear your mantle with reverence. Let the authority within you heal. Not harm, lift. Not crush, guide. Not control. The light in you has purpose to pierce the darkness, to awaken the sleeping, to remind the world that God still moves through those who yield completely. And as you continue to walk this path, remember, you are never alone in the mission. Every gesture of support, every prayer whispered, every act of generosity keeps the fire alive, not just in one heart, but in many. You carry His authority. Now, carry it well. Chosen one, every calling carries a cost. The anointing you bear was never meant to come cheap. Heaven does not entrust great authority to untested hearts. The cost of your calling has been measured in sleepless nights, misunderstood seasons, and silent endurance. Every tear you've shed has been currency in the divine. Exchange your pain for His power, your weakness for His glory. It is easy to celebrate the idea of being chosen until the reality of the process begins. You once asked for purpose, and heaven answered with pruning. You asked for strength, and life answered with storms. You asked for clarity, and God responded with stillness. The cost of the calling is not found in what you gain, it is found in what you're willing to lose. There are things you used to cling to that no longer fit your journey. Friendships faded, doors closed, and comfort dissolved. Not because you failed, but because your elevation required separation. You cannot carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's assignment. Some of what you loved could not survive the light now resting on your life. Chosen one, God is teaching you to walk alone with Him. Isolation is the classroom of intimacy. The higher your calling, the smaller your circle becomes. Many cannot comprehend what heaven is doing in you because they were not called to carry it with you. And that's all right. The absence of people often amplifies the presence of God. The Apostle Peter wrote to the early believers about this fire of testing in his first letter. Chapter 4, verses 12 and 13. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when His glory is revealed. These words echo across time to reach you now. The fire has not been punishment, it has been participation. You have been sharing in the same refining that marked every servant God ever used. The tears you've cried were not wasted, they were water for the seeds of your destiny. Look back for a moment. You've been betrayed and yet you kept loving. You've been overlooked and yet you kept serving. You've been wounded and yet you kept forgiving. That is what makes you different. Others gave up when it cost too much. You kept walking even when it broke you. That perseverance has marked you as trustworthy. The cost of the calling will always be intimacy with suffering. The same fire that purified your motives also removed your illusions. You no longer chase applause, you crave authenticity. You no longer seek comfort, you seek purpose. That transformation is what heaven wanted all along. You are learning that obedience is more valuable than opportunity. Sometimes God will ask you to say no to things that seem good, because they are not yours. Sometimes He will ask you to walk away from what everyone else desires, because your blessing lies in a different direction. The price of obedience is often misunderstanding. Yet, it is better to be misunderstood by people than to be misaligned with God. Chosen one, pain has been your greatest teacher. It showed you what you could survive, what you should release, and what truly matters. The ache that once felt unbearable has become the proof of your endurance. Every wound has become a well where others will later draw hope. You may not see it now, but all you lost was making room for what cannot be taken. The friendships that left taught you discernment. The doors that closed taught you patience. The dreams that died taught you surrender. And now, you carry wisdom too deep for words, wisdom carved by endurance, shaped by obedience, and anointed by grace. There will come a day when the weight of this process will make perfect sense. You will look back and thank God for the pruning that once made you weep. You will realize that the cost was never meant to destroy you, but to define you. Every stripped layer revealed the strength He planted within you from the beginning. Do not despise this refining. The gold of your calling is too pure to be rushed. Every pressure has purpose. Every loss holds a lesson. Every silence hides a shaping. You are becoming a vessel that cannot crack under the glory that is coming. The cost is real, but so is the reward. The same fire that burned away comfort has forged unshakable courage. The same loneliness that once crushed you has created room for divine friendship. The same pain that once silenced you has now become your testimony. Chosen one, when the time comes, and the weight of glory rests fully upon you, you will not boast in your strength, you will weep in gratitude, because you will finally see that nothing was wasted. Every tear became oil, every loss became light, every cost became crown. And when you stand before God's purpose fulfilled in your life, you will say, "It was worth it." Chosen one. There comes a divine moment when the waiting breaks, when the silence lifts, when what you have believed in secret begins to appear in sight. That moment is now approaching the moment of divine release. Heaven has been holding things in place, orchestrating events, and preparing timing so precise that not even 1 second will be wasted. You have been faithful through delay, patient through uncertainty, and steadfast through storms. You thought nothing was happening, but heaven was aligning everything around you. The seeds you planted in tears are now pressing against the soil. What felt buried is not dead, it's about to break through. The earth is trembling because your harvest is near. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven is already whispering your name into new opportunities, into divine appointments, into hearts that are part of your next season. The favor you've prayed for has been waiting for divine timing, and that timing is arriving now. You have come through the test. Now you are ready for the release. Chosen one. Understand, this divine release is not random. It comes when alignment meets obedience. You stayed when walking away felt easier. You believed when believing felt foolish. You gave when you had little left. And now, heaven says, enough delay. The gates are opening. The blessings are moving. And the favor is flowing toward you. The prophet Habakkuk once wrote words that echo like thunder across generations, as recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Those words were not just for ancient days, they were written for this moment, for your story. You have been waiting for promises that seemed to linger, wondering if heaven remembered your name. But the delay was not denial. The waiting was not wasted time, it was construction time. Heaven was building what you were praying for. Divine release often begins quietly. You will notice small shifts, unexpected peace replacing old anxiety, sudden opportunities emerging where there once was rejection, favor following you into rooms you never planned to enter. You will feel heaven's hand on your shoulder, gently guiding you into the flow of answered prayers. This is not a season of striving, it is a season of receiving. You no longer have to chase what's meant for you. The blessings assigned to your name are finding you now. It's like the tide returning to the shore, inevitable, unstoppable, perfectly timed. What once felt out of reach will suddenly rest in your hands. Chosen one, you have grown through the waiting. You no longer desire what merely shines. You now recognize what truly sustains. That's why the blessing will last this time. It's being released to a mature heart. God can now trust you with what he once had to withhold. You will not worship the gift, you will honor the giver. And as release unfolds, stay humble. The temptation after long waiting is to move too fast, to announce too loudly. But heaven's blessings move quietly, like morning light. Let the evidence of God's goodness speak louder than any announcement ever could. Let your peace preach louder than your pride. Remember the lessons of the hidden years, the patience, the discernment, the faith. They will keep you steady as new doors open. Every blessing comes with responsibility. Every open gate requires greater wisdom. Walk carefully, speak gently, and stay anchored in gratitude. Chosen one, this release is not only for you, it will overflow into others. The doors opening in your life will create paths for those connected to your assignment. Your breakthrough will become someone else's confirmation. That is the beauty of divine timing. It blesses everyone it touches. You are standing at the threshold now. The air feels different, doesn't it? That's the scent of answered prayer. Heaven's clock has struck your appointed hour. What once was delayed is now dispatched. If your spirit recognizes this word, if you can feel the shift in your heart, then seal it with a prophetic act. Comment 1111 below. That number represents divine alignment, the moment when heaven and earth move in sync, when promises manifest in perfect order. When you type it, do it with intention. You're not just posting a number, you're declaring agreement. You're saying, I am aligned with heaven's timing. I am ready for my release. It's a sign of surrender and faith, a symbol of the unseen shift becoming seen. Chosen one, this is your appointed hour. The delay has ended. The promises are speaking. The waiting room has turned into the birthing room. Step forward with open hands and quiet confidence. What you prayed for is no longer coming, it's here. Welcome to your divine release. Chosen one, restoration is the language of heaven. It is how God answers loss. You have been through seasons that stripped you bare, moments that took more than you ever thought you could lose. But in the divine economy, nothing surrendered in faith stays gone forever. Heaven has a way of redeeming what time, people, and circumstance have taken. The one who watched every heartbreak is now preparing to restore every fragment. You may not realize it, but the ground beneath your pain has been softening. The soil that once held the ashes of disappointment is about to bloom again. Restoration begins subtly. It doesn't announce itself with thunder, it arrives like dawn, quiet and sure. Where there was once dryness, streams begin to form. Where you only saw endings, new beginnings start to whisper. The losses you've endured are not the conclusion of your story. They are the soil of renewal. The God who breathed life into dust can breathe joy into desolation. He specializes in bringing beauty from what seemed irreparably broken. And though the scars remain, they are no longer signs of defeat. They are the proof that even destruction obeys his voice. Chosen one, heaven has recorded everything that was stolen from you, every year of delay, every season of loss, every relationship that broke before its time. Nothing has escaped his memory. He has been keeping an account. And now comes the season of repayment. The divine balance is shifting. You will not leave this chapter empty-handed. The prophet Joel once spoke to a people who thought their harvest was forever gone, who had watched locusts devour what they had labored for. His words were not only for them, but for every heart that has ever mourned a season of loss. As recorded in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the great locust, the young locust, the other locust, and the locust swarm, my great army that I sent among you. These words are a divine decree. Restoration is not just replacement, it is multiplication. God does not return things as they were, he returns them better, stronger, matured by grace. The years that seemed wasted will produce double harvest. The doors that closed will lead to wider gates. The love that broke will be replaced with peace that never leaves. Chosen one. Restoration is not only material, it is spiritual. You are being restored from the inside out. Your joy, your clarity, your confidence, your laughter, all the parts of you that pain tried to bury, are rising again. The light in your eyes will return, not as it once was, but brighter, because it will shine through understanding. You have seen the valley, and yet you stand. That resilience is now part of your anointing. The restoration of God often looks nothing like you expect. Sometimes it comes through reconciliation, other times through complete redirection. You may not get back what you lost in the same form, but you will receive what fulfills the same purpose. What left your life was never meant to define it. Heaven never restores backward, it restores forward. Think of Joseph, who lost years in prison only to be lifted to power. Think of Job, who saw double after devastation. Think of Naomi, who returned empty but held redemption in her arms. The pattern is the same. After the breaking comes the blessing. After the loss comes life. After ashes comes beauty. Chosen one. There will be moments when you feel the memory of loss try to return. Do not grieve what is gone, bless it. Every ending served its purpose. Every detour led you closer to destiny. When restoration comes, it brings understanding. You will see why certain prayers went unanswered, why certain doors remained shut. Heaven was not denying you, it was protecting you until what was meant for you was mature enough to last. Restoration also means rest. The striving that once defined you is over. You no longer have to fight to prove your worth or earn your place. God is returning peace to your soul. You will find yourself breathing easier, laughing more freely, trusting without fear. You will notice how the heaviness lifts, not suddenly, but steadily, until one day you realize you are light again. Everything that was meant to break you has become the very thing that built you. You are walking proof that God restores. The strength you carry now was not inherited, it was reclaimed. The wisdom you hold did not come cheaply, it was bought through pain, purified through perseverance. And when others look at your life, They will see evidence of divine restoration. They will see that what was once empty now overflows. They will see that what was once shattered now shines. They will ask how you survived. And you will say, I didn't just survive, I was restored. Chosen one. Restoration is here. Quiet. Steady. Unstoppable. You do not have to chase it. It's chasing you. The wind of renewal is at your back. The favor of heaven before you. And the memory of pain behind you transformed. Redeemed. Made holy. The story that once hurt to tell will soon become the story that heals others. You have entered your season of restoration, and nothing can take it away. Chosen one. Every generation has a remnant, those who refuse to bow to the noise, who keep their flame alive when the world grows cold. You are part of that remnant. You may not feel extraordinary, but heaven recognizes the mark you carry. You are one of the few whose heart still beats to the rhythm of eternity. One of the ones who remember that light was never meant to hide. You have walked through fire, through silence, through the deep refining of God's hand. And all of it has been leading here to the rise of the remnant. This is not a movement that shouts for attention. It is one that glows quietly from within. It is not about fame, but faithfulness. The remnant does not compete. It completes. It fills the earth with light when others surrender to darkness. Look around you. Chosen one. The world has grown weary. Hearts have become numb. Faith has been traded for convenience. But scattered among the noise are the shining ones, souls like yours who still listen, still believe, still obey. Heaven is gathering them now, aligning each life like stars, forming new constellations of purpose. Together, they will light the midnight sky of this age. This rising is not by might or by force, it is by presence. You do not need to prove your value, you simply need to be. The remnant carries a quiet authority born of purity. It walks through chaos untouched because its peace comes from within. When others panic, the remnant prays. When others curse the darkness, the remnant lights a candle. When others despair, the remnant remembers that the author of time is still on the throne. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 19, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." This is that revelation. Creation itself groans for light to rise again in human form, for voices that speak truth without fear, for hands that heal without reward, for hearts that love without condition. The earth is not waiting for celebrities or leaders, it is waiting for you, the chosen ones, the remnant who will not be swayed. You are being called not to conform, but to carry hope where cynicism has reigned, to carry compassion where division has spread, to carry wisdom where confusion has multiplied. This is not the time to retreat into silence. It is the time to walk boldly in humility. The light within you was never meant for safety. It was meant for service. Chosen one. The remnant's strength does not lie in numbers, but in endurance. Even if only a handful remain faithful, heaven can change nations through them. Think of Gideon's army reduced to 300. Think of Elijah standing alone before false prophets. Think of Mary saying yes to an impossible promise. One obedient heart is more powerful than 1,000 indifferent ones. You are part of a divine lineage that stretches back through centuries of faith. The same spirit that hovered over creation, that filled prophets and apostles, that raised the dead, now burns quietly within you. You are not a continuation of history. you are its fulfillment. The same flame that burned in the upper room has not gone out. It simply moved into new vessels. And you are one of them. This rising will not always be visible. Some will carry it in quiet workplaces, others in homes, others on platforms they never sought. The remnant doesn't need recognition, it needs obedience. The power of light lies in its consistency, not its noise. You are called to keep shining when no one notices, to keep praying when no one listens, to keep loving when no one returns it. That's what separates the chosen from the casual. There will be opposition. The brighter you shine, the more shadows will react. But do not fear it. Shadows only appear where light exists. The presence of resistance is confirmation of purpose. When the world seems to tremble around you, remember that even darkness serves a role. It becomes the backdrop that makes the light visible. Chosen one, your obedience is igniting others. Every time you choose faith, you awaken another soul to possibility. Every act of kindness, every word spoken in love, every moment of integrity, it all ripples outward. Unseen but unstoppable. Heaven measures movements not by crowds, but by hearts transformed. The rise of the remnant is not coming, it has begun. You can feel it in the air, that sense of awakening, of destiny, of something greater unfolding quietly beneath the chaos. The world will not recognize it until it can no longer be ignored, but heaven already celebrates it now. So, walk forward with calm courage. You are not alone in this rising. All across the earth, others are standing, two souls aflame with the same eternal light. Together, you form the heartbeat of a generation returning to truth. Chosen one, lift your head. You are the proof that heaven still moves, that love still reigns, that light still wins. The remnant is rising, and you are part of its fire. Chosen one, every great story reaches a point of separation, a divine moment when what is false falls away, and what is true stands revealed. You are living in that moment now. The final separation. Heaven is drawing a line between those who only say they believe and those who truly walk with the light. It is not punishment, it is purification. This separation does not come with thunder, it comes quietly, through choices, through conviction, through the gentle whisper of truth, asking, will you still follow when the path narrows, the crowds may thin, the applause may fade, but what remains is pure, what remains is holy, what remains is unshakable. You have probably felt it, relationships shifting, environments no longer fitting, conversations that once felt comfortable now feeling heavy. This is not coincidence. Heaven is removing distractions disguised as companionships. The people, habits, or thoughts that cannot carry the next chapter of your calling are being released. Separation is not rejection, it is refinement. God removes not to deprive, but to protect. Think of gold again, it glows brightest only after the impurities rise to the surface. The final separation is that refining fire, not to burn you, but to burn away what dulls your shine. Every tear you've cried in this season has washed away one more layer of what does not belong. You are emerging lighter, clearer, and more aligned with your purpose. Jesus once spoke of this mystery in a parable that still echoes through time. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 30, it is written, "Let both grow together until the harvest. First gather the weeds to be burned, Then gather the wheat. These words describe exactly what you feel. The wheat and the weeds have grown side by side in your life. Truth and deception, destiny and distraction, loyalty and betrayal. Now heaven is harvesting. God is separating what is real from what only looked real. And though it hurts to see certain things fall away, it is making room for abundance. Chosen one. This process is not only external, it is internal. Heaven is separating the voice of fear from the voice of faith, the echo of trauma from the whisper of truth. You are being purified not only in your surroundings but in your soul. The doubts that once ruled your mind are losing their grip. The guilt that once chained your heart is being loosed. You are learning to recognize what is truly of God and what is merely noise. This separation may feel like loss, but it is actually positioning. When God calls you higher, He lightens your load. When He expands your territory, He refines your team. And when He trusts you with more, He purges what no longer serves the mission. You are not being left behind, you are being launched. In moments like this, it's easy to feel the sting of solitude. Yet remember, the eagle soars alone before it leads others to the heights. You are not abandoned, you are ascending. You are learning to breathe at new altitudes, where the air is thinner but the vision clearer. Chosen one. As you walk through this refining, your heart will ache for what was. Let gratitude, not bitterness, fill that space. Bless what is leaving, for it has served its purpose. Even broken things were teachers. Every goodbye carved more room for grace. Every closed door redirected you toward destiny. And as you step forward, remember that light attracts both seekers and shadows. Those who carry pure flame must guard it well. Continue to walk humbly, to speak kindly, to live intentionally. Let your light be steady, not blinding, not hidden, but faithful. If this message resonates with the deepest parts of your spirit, take a moment and leave your reflection below. Comment what this season of separation means to you. When you do, you plant your testimony like a seed in the soil of someone else's breakthrough. Your words might become the confirmation another heart has been praying for. And as you share, like, or help this message reach others, do it with sincerity. When you share light, you multiply it. When you help sustain voices that carry truth through prayer, encouragement, or even your generosity, you become part of the harvest. Each act of support is like oil for a lamp, ensuring that the flame never flickers out. Picture a lighthouse on a lonely coast. It does not ask the sea to calm, it simply shines. Again and again, night after night. That is what your partnership, your engagement, your faithfulness does. It keeps the light shining for others who are still at sea. Chosen one. The separation may sting, but it signals strength. You are being distinguished for destiny, refined for responsibility, and purified for purpose. The weeds are falling away, and only the wheat remains. Soon, the harvest will come, and you will see that every pruning was worth it. Until then, stand firm, shine gently, and keep your heart open. The separation is not your ending, it's your beginning. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every divine journey when the testing ceases and the purpose becomes clear. You have been refined, stretched, and separated. And now the King himself approaches with reward in his hands. This is the moment of crowning, not as the world defines it, but as heaven ordains it. You are being crowned not for perfection, but for perseverance. You have walked through the fire and did not curse the flames. You stood in the storm and did not drown in despair. You kept believing when faith felt fragile. Every act of obedience, every tear shed in secret, every step taken in surrender has been recorded. Heaven does not forget endurance. When others stopped, you stayed. When others grew silent, you sang. That steadfastness has now become your crown. Crowns in the kingdom are not made of gold, they are woven from surrender. They are shaped by humility and adorned with unseen victories. Every trial that you overcame has added another jewel to the band. It may not be visible to the world, but in the spiritual realm, your light has intensified. You wear the radiance of one who has endured and emerged unbroken. The Apostle Paul, nearing the end of his own journey, spoke of this eternal reward in his second letter to Timothy. Chapter 4, verse 8. There is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord will award that day to all who long for him. Those words were not written for the past, they were written for all who walk faithfully in every generation. You are one of them. You have longed for truth, sought righteousness, and waited with hope even when heaven was silent. This crown is not a trophy, it is recognition from eternity itself that you have been faithful, chosen one. The crowning is not only a moment of reward, it is a transfer of responsibility. The crown signifies that you are now trusted to carry authority with compassion, to rule with mercy, to lead with love. The pain you've endured has prepared you for this. You understand now what it means to lead gently, to speak truth without pride, to hold power without greed. This is what the crown represents: governance by grace. Heaven is not placing something on your head, it is awakening something within your spirit. The authority you carry will not come from a title or a platform, but from purity. When you speak, others will listen because they will feel the weight of experience behind your words. You have earned the right to comfort because you've known pain. You have earned the right to guide because you've walked the valley. The crown is also a symbol of completion. It means the chapter of wandering is closing. The uncertainty that once clouded your heart is clearing. You are stepping into stability, firm, grounded, and whole. The same storms that once tossed you now serve as stepping stones beneath your feet. You are walking on what once threatened to drown you. This crowning is quiet, almost sacred. It doesn't happen in front of crowds or cameras. It happens in the stillness of prayer, in the hush of gratitude, in the realization that you have survived what once seemed impossible. It is the moment when you finally understand that every trial had purpose, and every delay had design. Chosen one. This moment marks a shift. You will find that doors open more naturally now. What once required striving will now flow with grace. It's not because the path became easier, but because you have become stronger. You carry the wisdom of endurance, and that wisdom magnetizes favor. This crown will not make you proud, it will make you peaceful. You will no longer need to prove anything. You will no longer measure yourself against others. You will walk in quiet confidence, knowing that the King who crowned you also defends you. You will see yourself not through the eyes of fear, but through the eyes of faith. When you look back, you will realize that the pain was not the enemy, it was the forge. Every betrayal was a sculptor's stroke, every loss a refining fire, every closed door a redirecting hand. All of it has shaped you into royalty in the realm of grace. Chosen one, wear your crown humbly. It is not a sign that you've reached the end. It is proof that you are ready for greater purpose. The fire that once tested you now bows to you. The storms that once threatened you now serve your growth. You stand not as a survivor, but as a sovereign one who reigns in peace, rules in love, and walks in divine authority. You are crowned with righteousness, strength, and light. You are the living testimony that endurance always ends in glory. The King has placed his mark upon you, and the heavens rejoice. Walk forward, crowned and called. Your season of proving has ended. Your season of reigning has begun. Chosen one, the journey that began in struggle now draws toward completion. You have walked through valleys few could endure, and climbed mountains few were willing to attempt. You have been refined by silence, purified by storms, and strengthened by surrender. Every step has led you here to the place of prophetic completion. Heaven has not only tested you, it has trusted you. The purpose once hidden has now matured into revelation. Completion in the kingdom does not mean an ending, it means fulfillment. It is the moment when everything that once seemed scattered suddenly connects. The fragments of your past form a mosaic, and you realize that nothing was wasted. The pain, the confusion, the delays, all of it has been woven into divine symmetry. You stand at the threshold of promise, seeing how every valley shaped your view of the mountain. Heaven's design always finishes what it begins. The same God who called you has not left any part of your story unfinished. Every unspoken prayer, every unseen effort, every quiet act of obedience, they are all converging now into purpose. The invisible threads that stretched across years are being pulled together, forming something whole and holy. Completion also brings peace, the kind that does not depend on circumstance, the kind that settles deep into your bones and whispers, "It is done." This peace doesn't come because everything is perfect. It comes because everything finally makes sense. You see the hand of God not just in the victories, but in the valleys. Not just in the answered prayers, but in the ones that went unanswered for your protection. Chosen one. This completion is a divine seal over your obedience. It is the moment heaven signs your process with approval. You have passed through the narrow path of faithfulness and emerged with a heart purified by fire. The old has fallen away. The new has taken root. The journey has transformed from struggle into song. In the final vision given to John, there is a promise written for those who endure to the end. In the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11, it declares, "I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown." These words are not just a warning, they are an affirmation. They remind you that what you've received cannot be taken as long as you remain steadfast. You have been crowned, and now you are being sealed. The crown is not fragile, it is eternal. It represents faith that withstood fire and love that outlasted loss. Completion also carries commissioning. The journey that shaped you now sends you. You are no longer the one searching for purpose, you are the one carrying it. Heaven now entrusts you with the responsibility of light, the stewardship of truth. The revelation you carry is not just for you, it is meant to flow through you. You are both the message and the messenger. You will find that life looks different now. The noise that once distracted you no longer holds power. The opinions of others have lost their weight. You have learned to listen only to the voice that never misleads. The stillness that once scared you now feels like home, because you have found peace in divine presence. Chosen one. Completion has also brought clarity. You understand now why the path had to curve, why doors closed, why certain people left. You see how divine order guided even your detours. The same God who began your story is now perfecting it. There is nothing missing, nothing broken, just a new beginning disguised as completion. You are stepping into a rhythm where obedience feels natural, where trust is instinctive, where peace is constant. The striving has ended. You no longer fight to become, you simply are. You are the reflection of divine craftsmanship, the evidence of heaven's patience, the proof that transformation is possible. This final chapter is not a conclusion, but a coronation of purpose. The storms that once chased you now bow to your calm. The battles that once terrified you now serve your wisdom. The light that flickered within you has become a steady flame, guiding others out of their own darkness. Chosen one. Heaven has sealed your journey with favor. What began with trembling has ended in triumph. You have walked the full circle from calling to testing, from breaking to building, from wilderness to wonder. And now, the voice that called you at the beginning speaks once more, not in command, but in comfort. Well done. Rest in that truth. You are no longer striving to prove yourself. You have been approved by the one who sees all. The purpose has been fulfilled, the assignment complete, and the promise secured. You stand now in divine completion, whole, restored, and radiant. This is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your legacy. What heaven started in you will continue through you. The light will not fade, it will spread. Chosen one. If these words have reached the deep places of your heart, let them take root. You have walked the full circle of awakening, through fire and silence, into light and completion. This isn't goodbye, it's the beginning of a new rhythm with heaven. The same voice that called you here will keep guiding you forward. If this message stirred something within you, don't keep it hidden. Light is meant to travel. When you like, share, or comment, you aren't just interacting, you're igniting the next soul, waiting for confirmation that God still speaks. Write what resonated most with you. Your reflection might become the very sentence that heals someone else. And if you feel this space has become part of your journey, stay close to it. Subscribe so you can keep walking with this flow of revelation as heaven continues to speak through each message. This community isn't built on noise, it's built on light, on hearts that still believe that faith can move mountains and words can mend what the world has broken. Chosen one. Your presence here matters. Every share becomes a spark. Every comment, a seed. Every click, a ripple. Keep spreading light with intention. You never know who's waiting in the dark for the glow you carry. Until the next divine whisper, keep shining.